So it's another UFC fight night this weekend. In the main event, two lightweights looking to break into the top 10. We've got Arman Tsarukyan taking on Mateusz Gamrot. It's a tremendous fight. Don't get me wrong. I'm really pumped for this fight and pumped for the 12 fights that are on this card. Not excited for the fact that we're back in the Apex because, again, we go from Austin, Texas, the Moody Center. That card was crazy, and we're going to talk about it briefly in a second, but that card was awesome, to now Tsarukyan and Gamrot, which is a good fight, but in an empty arena. So we're going to have that this weekend from the UFC Apex. And folks, if you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more UFC here on the channel. And yeah, looking at UFC Austin, I mean, we went 8-5 in the card. We should have gone 9-4. I don't know how you score that fight for Josh Emmett. And I'm looking at you, Chris Lee. Chris Lee, how do you score round 4 for Josh Emmett? Because if he scores round 4 for Calvin Kattar, which, by the way, round 4 was the most decisive round on in the entire fight, if that round is scored for Calvin Kattar by that one judge, Chris Lee, Calvin Kattar wins the fight by split decision, and Calvin Kattar's next to the championship shot. And now it appears if Alexander Volkanovski retains his championship against Max Holloway, he'll probably be fighting Josh Emmett next, unless, I mean, Henry Cejudo comes into play, but it'll likely be Emmett versus Volkanovski if Alexander the Great is able to beat Holloway in a couple weeks. But that's at UFC 276. Now let's take a look at the fight night coming up this weekend. So kicking off the card, we've got Vanessa Demopoulos taking on Jinh Frey. And for Vanessa Demopoulos, picking up her first win in the UFC with her last fight, so the armbar victory over Silvana Gomez-Juarez. And now we have seen Silvana Gomez-Juarez in her last fight picking up a huge knockout win over Liang Na. But yeah, I mean, it's a fight where it's seeming like it's going to go in the direction of Gomez-Juarez. She knocks down Demopoulos early in the first round. She goes into Demopoulos' guard, and Vanessa catches her in an armbar and submits her because Silvana Gomez-Juarez's just jiu-jitsu game is really not that good. And now in Demopoulos' first fight in the UFC, she runs into JJ Aldrich. She loses the fight by unanimous decision. She just gets outstruck in that fight. She gets out-grappled. Aldrich wins that fight every single way. And you're looking at her opponent now, and Demopoulos, of course, 1-1 in the UFC. She got a shot in the Contender Series. She lost to Corey McKenna, but she was signed anyway to go fight JJ Aldrich on short notice because she was fighting the LFA. She was the former LFA 115 champion over there. She beat Sam Hughes for the belt back in 2020. Anyways, we're talking about her opponent now, Jinh Frey, who, again, is an atomweight who does now fight at 115. The former atomweight champion over there with Invicta, got signed to the promotion to fight Kay Hansen, where she did lose the fight. She lost by submission in the third round as an armbar finish win for Kay Hansen. And then Jinh Frey fought Loma Luponi after that, lost the fight by unanimous decision, kind of got dominated in that one, and then turned it around, beat Gloria De Paula. It's a good win for her, won that one by unanimous decision. She out-wrestled Gloria De Paula. De Paula just couldn't get her offense going because Jinh Frey did ground her for about 10 minutes of that fight, and then afterwards for Jinh Frey, she got into a fight with Ashley Yoder. It was a somewhat competitive fight on the feet that Jinh Frey ended up winning. She outstruck Yoder ever so slightly, ended up winning the fight again by unanimous decision. But you look at this fight with Demopoulos and Jinh Frey, and you break this fight down. Demopoulos is gonna have the jiu-jitsu advantage, I think, and that's really the only way. I mean, that's the only side I give her in this fight because I think Jinh Frey's wrestling is better. So I mean, that will, of course, help Jinh Frey dictate where this fight is going to end up. And I think Jinh Frey's striking is a whole lot better than Vanessa Demopoulos. And now, is Ashley Yoder the best striker? No, she's not. But Jinh Frey was able to go out there and outstrike Ashley Yoder for 15 minutes. And Vanessa Demopoulos, I've seen her on the feet so far in the UFC for, 15 minutes, give or take. And she got outstruck by JJ Aldrich throughout those entire 15 minutes. And then Silvana Gomez-Juarez almost knocked her out, which, again, Gomez-Juarez has a lot of power for 115. But, again, Demopoulos didn't look great on the feet in that fight. And even Corey McKenna was able to, outstrike Demopoulos on the feet. And then even when Corey McKenna did have Demopoulos down, Demopoulos did attempt some submissions off her back, but she wasn't able to execute on any of those as well. So I think Jinh Frey overall is a better offensive wrestler than Corey McKenna, and I think she's pretty solid on top. So I don't think Jinh Frey is going to get in any danger while she is wrestling with Vanessa Demopoulos. And on the feet, again, I would give the advantage striking-wise to Jinh Frey. So I think Jinh Frey is all around better than Vanessa Demopoulos on the feet, on the ground. As long as Jinh Frey doesn't get caught in a submission, she should be able to pick up the victory. So that's why we're going to go with Jinh Frey to open this card off with a unanimous decision victory over the former LFA champ in Vanessa Demopoulos. Next up, we have got Brian Kelleher taking on Mario Bautista. And for Bautista, his last fight in the UFC was a win over Jay Perrin, wins it by unanimous decision. He was a huge favorite going into that fight, and he just, he beat his opponent everywhere in that fight, outstriking him, out wrestling, went 4 for 6 in his takedown attempts in that fight. And for Bautista, he is 3-2 in the UFC, but one of his losses is to the Sandman and Corey Sandhagen. He got armbarred in that fight in the first round back in Brooklyn in the Cejudo Dillashaw card. But after that, he picked up back-to-back wins, outstriking Jinsu Sun in a fight of the night performance in San Antonio in the Dos Anjos Edwards card. And then after that, flying knee, Miles Johns knocked him out over in Houston at UFC 247, then ran into Trevin Jones in his next fight, UFC 259, getting knocked out in the second round. And as for his opponent in Brian Kelleher, Kelleher has been around for a while. He's coming off a loss, though, to Umar Nurmagomedov, and you know how good Umar Nurmagomedov is. The dude is a talent in the division at 135, and Sorry, 145. Kelleher's going back down to 35 for this fight. But I mean, Umar Nurmagomedov is very good. He's going to be fighting Nate Maness later on this card, and we're going to talk about how, special that guy is. But for Kelleher, going into that fight, he wasn't on a 2-fight winning streak where he just beat Domingo Pilarte and beat Kevin Kroom. 2 fights where he kind of had it throughout the entirety of both those fights, except for the Kevin Kroom fight, where actually Kroom in that fight did land early on Kelleher. Even though Kelleher, it was weird because Kelleher knocked down Kroom in the first round, but Kroom was still striking him. Anyways, Kelleher wins the fight though, 2-1. I had it, but some judges had it, all 3 going to Brian Boom. Kelleher, again, he's been up and down in the UFC. He owns a submission win over the Picasso of MMA, Ode Osborne, who's my guy. He knocked out Hunter Azure in a fight that he was losing in Jacksonville in the Smith Teixeira card. Ran to Cody Stamen, where he just got out-wrestled and outboxed for 3 rounds. He subbed Ray Rodriguez on short notice. It's interesting to get a read on Brian Kelleher because sometimes he looks really good, sometimes he doesn't. I mean, again, his last fight, he got dominated for 3 minutes before getting subbed by Umar Nurmagomedov. This one's, I think, one of the tougher ones to call just because, again, Bautista's a guy who's 3-2 in the UFC. He got knocked out by Jones, and Jones caught him with the uppercut. I mean, does Kelleher have the power to knock him out? No. I think in this fight, Bautista's going to keep it standing. I think he will outbox Brian Kelleher. I mean, Kelleher's getting to this point of his career. He's fought a lot. I mean, hell, he's 24-13. He's 8-6 in the UFC. He's had a lot of fights. He's getting up there in age. He's 35. I think Bautista's going to be able to beat him with a punch in this one. I just think he's the quicker fighter in this one. I think he'll be able to win in scrambles and all that. And I'm going to go with Mario Bautista to win this fight. I think he's going to dispose of Brian Boom Kelleher, and I think he's going to get it done by unanimous decision. Next up at flyweight, we have got JP Buys taking on Cody Durden. Both these guys in desperate need of a win. I mean, especially JP Buys, but Cody Durden too, because Durden's a guy who's 1-2-1 in the UFC. The one win over Araki Long, and the losses to Jimmy Flick and Mohamed Mokaev. Most recently, the Mokaev lost, losing in 58 seconds in London, and then he had the draw against Chris Gutierrez in his UFC debut. He's taking on a guy in JP Buys here. JP Buys is 0-2 in the UFC. Now, he fought better than I thought he was going to do in the Montel Jackson fight, because I thought he was going to get dominated in that fight, which he kind of did, but he's stuck in there. He went 15 minutes with Jackson. He lost the fight by unanimous decision. And then before that, he lost to Bruno Silva, where he got knocked down in the second round. Silva just, I mean, my goodness, it was just constant pressure out of Bruno Silva in that fight. He knocked down Buys 3 times. Just wasn't a great fight for JP in that one. Now, he made his way in the UFC by beating Jacob Silva, and now at the time, it wasn't a horrible, win. I mean, it's still not a bad win, but Jacob Silva's a guy now who in the regional scene at Fury FC just can't buy a fight. I mean, the guy since losing to JP Buys ran to CJ Vergara, he lost in Fury, then he beat Rashad Robinson, lost to a guy who's 10-12, beat a 9-8 guy, lost to Eric Sheldon, and lost to Cleveland McLean in his last fight. Jacob Silva's struggling since his, couple bouts in the Contender Series. I think it was 2 bouts in the Contender Series where he ran into Jeff Molina and JP Buys. Buys wins that fight. He dominates Silva. He subs him in the guillotine at the end of the first round. I think Silva got hurt in that fight too, but again, that's how he got his contract. He came into the Contender the first time around, losing to Joby Sanchez by TKO in the second round. The thing is, Cody Durden possesses the exact style to beat JP Buys, and it's the exact style and the exact way that JP Buys lost his last fight. Montel Jackson, and also, JP Buys has a terrible chin. Like, he's been knocked down 7 times in his first 2 UFC fights. Now, Cody Durden's probably not going to be the guy that's going to knock him down just because that's not the way he fights. He's a wrestler, but still, as long as Durden's able to put a little bit of damage in the feet and at least rock Buys a little bit, he should be able to go back to the well with the takedowns, and he should be able to continuously take down JP Buys for 15 minutes. And okay, there's no denying how tough JP Buys is. JP Buys is a tough guy. You watch the Montel Jackson fight, the guy stays in, and even the Bruno Silva fight, the guy still wants to fight after being knocked down 3 times in 2 rounds. But it's just, man, it's such a tough stylistic fight for him because Montel Jackson controlled him on the ground for 10 minutes, and he still had 4 knockdowns in that fight. I think Cody Durden's going to be able to get the takedowns in this one. I think Durden, again, his hands aren't the greatest, but I think he should be able to at least throw entry-level strikes that will hurt JP Buys to the point where he can get in on a double and he can take down JP Buys and he can hold him down there. And it sucks for Buys. I think he's going to lose 3 straight fights in the UFC, and likely he will, probably have to go back to the regional scene for a little bit. But the guy's only 26 years old. He's young. Again, I don't like the accumulation of damage he's taken in his first 2 fights so far in the promotion, but I think in this one, I'm going to have to give the victory here to Cody Durden. I think Durden will be able to out-wrestle JP Buys for 15 minutes and wrestle his way to a decision victory. Again, I don't think he's going to be able to finish him just because how tough Buys is, but I'm going to go with Durden to win this fight by unanimous decision. Kind of surprised Paiva's an underdog here, honestly. I mean, we got Raulian Paiva and Sergey Morozov, and I think it's kind of because of Paiva's last fight where he got knocked out by Sean O'Malley, where he just couldn't get anything going against Sugar Sean, but really no one has except for Chito Vera, and Chito Vera's about to fight Dominic Cruz in a main event in San Diego later this summer. But Halian Paiva coming off the loss to Sean O'Malley, and Sergey Morozov, a guy who lost the last fight to Douglas Silva de Andrade, and he had the guys 1 and 2 in the UFC. He's fought 2 really tough guys and Khalid Taha. No disrespect to Taha, but still, Morozov comes in, he loses to Umar Nurmagomedov. He gets subbed in the second round in the Magny card, beats Taha, where he just dominates him on the ground, and Mahashev and Moises. And then, of course, over in Houston on the Adesanya Whitaker 2 card, Douglas Silva de Andrade, just a crazy fight. They go back and forth. Both guys exchange knockdowns, and D. Silva eventually in the second round submits him. But it's a tremendous fight between Andrade and Morozov. And for Sergey Morozov in this fight, the guy's coming off of, he comes in the UFC. He beats Josh Reddinghouse's last fight, where he defends his M1 Global Championship, beating the former Ultimate Fighter by unanimous decision. It was the rematch of their fight back in 2016. Of course, he gets the win back. And, Morozov's a guy who, he's got pretty good striking. His wrestling game's solid, as well as you saw in his fight with Khalid Taha. But again, the D. Silva fight was a tremendous one. They go back and forth in the feet. Just that Andrade had the power advantage in that one. He was able to outland Morozov and put him down in that second round. But it wins fight of the night, UFC 271. It's a tremendous one from earlier this year. And I think, Paiva's a guy who's going to stand with him, I think. Halian Paiva, when you look at his, the win that he had over Kyler Phillips, which probably should have been a draw, but Paiva's always trying to keep the fight on the feet. Most of his fights, he's the one fending off takedowns, and that's why I thought it was an interesting stylistic matchup when they did match him up with Sean O'Malley. Obviously, I thought O'Malley was still going to win the fight, and I think I had O'Malley by first round knockout, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did, but Paiva still got pretty good striking. He's only 26 years old, too. He's pretty young for, being, 7 fights into the UFC now. But he's got pretty crisp striking, and I think you're going to see a striking affair between him and Morozov. I think if Morozov does want to switch it up, then you will see him trying to attempt takedowns, which could work on a guy like Paiva. But Halian Paiva, though, 75% takedown defense so far in the UFC. The only guys that have been able to take him down at will. Kind of Kyler Phillips. Phillips kind of took him down. I think Giagos Zumagulov tried to take Paiva down. He wasn't able to. I think Boncharin took him down a couple times as well. But Paiva's fought some good guys in the UFC. Look at his losses. Kai Kara-France, Boncharin, and Sean O'Malley. And his wins are Mark De La Rosa, Giagos Zumagulov, and Kyler Phillips. So, Paiva's really good. I think in this fight with him and Morozov, though, you're going to see a striking fight. I think Paiva will be able to keep it standing if Morozov does try to shoot him for takedowns. And, I think Morozov's good. His last fight against D. Silva was impressive. But I think Paiva should be able to, barely squeak out a unanimous decision victory here in this one. I think it's going to be a close fight. It's going to be closely contested, but I think Paiva's just barely better. I do like him at plus money in this one. I was interested to see that he was the underdog in this fight. It's a close one to pick, but I do, very slightly favor Paiva to pick up the win in this one, use a jab effectively, keep range against Morozov, and win the fight by decision. Next up, we've got TJ Downtown Brown taking on Shailan Nuerdanbieke, and for Nuerdanbieke, I think I forget what his record was coming into his last fight, but he's like 19-7 going into his last fight. He's now 36-10, which I think, what I found on Twitter at least, is that, when he was fighting in WLF Wars or in, other like Chinese regionals, he had a different name because, I could be wrong on this one. I could definitely be wrong, but I think it was something along the lines of that Shailan Nuerdanbieke had a different name in China, I do believe, where his Chinese name is different than what his name in America would be. So I think they couldn't, like, Tapology and all the like Sherdog and all those MMA sites couldn't find his old fights because it was under a different name, I do believe. So it wasn't Shailan Nuerdanbieke, it was a different name. So now I think they have his accurate record, and now it's 37-10 or 36-10. I think UFC's got 37-10. Tapology's got 36-10. So I'm not sure which one's right, but the guy's only 28 years old, and he's already had 46 pro fights. So this will be pro fight number 47 for him right now, taking on TJ Brown, and we're going to find out who the better wrestler is in this fight, because TJ Brown and Shailan Nuerdanbieke are both guys who won their last fights thanks to their grappling, and especially TJ Brown, a guy who out-wrestled a pretty good grappler, of course, and Charles Rosa. And, TJ Brown went 6 for 8 in his takedowns in that one. 8 minutes of control time. He went for a couple submissions in that one. Couldn't end up landing him, but TJ Brown was the aggressor in that fight. Ended up winning that fight 2-1 against Rosa. And then you look at his opponent, of course, in Shailan Nuerdanbieke. And Nuerdanbieke, I picked this fight right. He's a pretty sizable underdog against Sean Soriano. I thought Nuerdanbieke was going to beat him. He did by unanimous decision. Nuerdanbieke out-scrambled him on the ground. Nuerdanbieke was able to apply the pressure on top, and he did have 7 minutes of control time on that one. He went 4 for 8 in his takedowns, and he was really... Nuerdanbieke doesn't throw hard, and he's probably not going to knock anybody out. You look at his, he does have 17 knockouts on his record, but again, those are in WLF Wars and all these promotions in China, which, let's be honest, don't have the best competition out there. But Nuerdanbieke is probably not going to knock you out with any of his punches, but he's more of a volume guy who is willing to throw a lot of strikes once he does get his opponents to the ground. You're going to see that a lot, like he did in the Soriano fight. He only had 17 significant strikes in that fight, but total strikes he had 111 because of those not body shots, because of those ground strikes they did throw once he was on top of Soriano. Maybe not. They're not. Of course, they're not going to be fight-ending strikes, but Nuerdanbieke is just always, you know, trying to stay active when he is on top. And I mean, we're gonna find out the better wrestlers again with him and Brown, because TJ Brown's a guy who, of course, has the Charles Rosa win in his last fight. He beat Kai Kamaka in a fight where a lot of people thought Kamaka probably should have got the nod. It was a close fight, don't get me wrong, that TJ Brown does win. He does get dropped by Kamaka in that fight. In his first 2 fights in the UFC, he's beating Jordan Griffin until he wasn't. Griffin submits him with the guillotine, and then he loses to Danny Chavez in his second fight, UFC 252, where Chavez was just able to outstrike him on the feet. And that's how that fight happened. I don't believe in that fight. Yeah, TJ Brown did not land a takedown in that fight. He went 0 for 6 in his takedowns, takedown attempts against Danny Chavez. So if Nuerdanbieke is able to stuff the takedowns to TJ Brown and then, of course, implement his own wrestling game and he's able to take down TJ Brown, you could see an interesting fight play out in this one. I think, you know, pure wrestling wise, I think this one's pretty even. Both these guys are pretty good grapplers. I just don't know about Nuerdanbieke just yet, honestly, if I'll be real with you, because again, the guys he fought outside the UFC weren't the greatest. He fights Josh Kalibau in his first fight in the UFC, and you know, Kalibau is a solid fighter. Nuerdanbieke, though, does go 2 for 14 in his takedowns in that fight, but once he was able to land once against Kalibau, he was able to keep him down and hold him down. And I picked Nuerdanbieke to win that fight. I took a shot on that one. I think it was like plus 300 or something like that in his first fight in the UFC against Kalibau on short notice. He didn't get the win. I picked him to beat Soriano. He got the win in that one. He's an underdog in his first 2 fights in the UFC. He's an underdog in his third fight in the UFC as well. I'm gonna keep picking Nuerdanbieke. I think if he's able to, you know, be the one that is dictating where this fight's going to be able to go. If he's the one that's not on the, you know, if he's not on the receiving end of a TJ Brown beatdown on the feet, which I don't think is going to happen, and I think Shylon should be able to clinch up with Brown. I think he should be able to take this fight to where he does want it. I mean, the guy's experienced. Again, this is pro fight number 47 for him, maybe 48, whatever the record does say. But if he is able to clinch with Brown, if he is able to bring Brown down, his top pressure is pretty good, and he is pretty heavy on top, and he's pretty tough to get off. Of top, just like you saw in his fight with Kalibau. Yes, Kalibau does win, you know, 2 rounds in that fight, but Nuerdanbieke is able to come back, win a round late in that fight, and he's able to maintain top positioning against a pretty solid fighter in Josh Kalibau. So I think if Nuerdanbieke is able to do that against TJ Brown, I think he'll be able to find a way to bank 2 rounds in this fight. I don't know which ones it's going to be, but I think he will find a way to find a pathway to victory for 2 rounds. I think that's going to be why Nuerdanbieke goes to 2-1 in the UFC. Again, at plus money, we're going to be taking him, going with Nuerdanbieke by unanimous decision, using his wrestling to his advantage. So now we've got, you know, 2 powerful punchers here in Nchukwi and Carlos Ulberg. I mean, Ulberg's a guy, you know, former kickboxer, who's now fighting MMA, of course. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He picked up winner Fabio Cherant in his first fight, or second fight in the UFC, and lost to Kennedy Nzechukwu in his first fight, where he was winning. He goes, big upset, big comeback victory for Kennedy Nzechukwu, which, oh, by the way, I picked that right. But anyways, you know, I'm not going to pat myself on the back or anything, but for Ulberg, again, he's 1-1 in the UFC, really good striker, and he shut down the game of Fabio Cherant in his last fight. We did see a little bit of wrestling out of Ulberg in his last one, but again, it's the kickboxing that's going to win him fights. Cherant just couldn't get going. He's a guy, the Water Buffalo's always trying to, you know, counter punch, couldn't really get anything going. And for Ulberg, I mean, he's going to probably, you know, I mean, he's a big light heavyweight. He's a big light heavyweight. He's 6'4" for the weight class, but he's got the same exact reach as his opponent here in Durden and Nchukwi. Both guys have 77-inch reach. Nchukwi's 6 foot though, and Ulberg is 6'4". But for Nchukwi, this is a guy who's winning his last fight over Azamat Murzakanov. Over on Santos and Ankalaev. This is only 3 months ago, too. He's winning the fight. He's up to a minus 250 favorite going into the 3rd round. The commentators talking about it like, yeah, I mean, Murzakinov's still powerful in this 3rd round, but Nchukwi's definitely banked too, and he was up 2 rounds to nothing in that 3rd round. And then, of course, he loses. I mean, he runs into a flying knee by Murzakanov and puts him out cold. And now he's back 3 months later. I don't love that out of a fighter, especially a guy in Nchukwi who's going to be striking with Carlos Ulberg. Both these guys are going to strike for, you know, however long this fight's going to go, because Ulberg's not going to be a guy that's going to try to take him down. I doubt Nchukwi's going to try to take him down. He took down Mike Rodriguez, who just picked up a big win in his first fight outside the UFC at CES on last Friday night, but I don't think Nchukwi, and he might try to wrestle Ulberg, but I think Ulberg should be able to keep this one on the feet. And that's just trouble for Nchukwi. And yes, Carlos Ulberg has not had his big, spectacular, you know, knockout finish so far in the UFC like we saw in his kickboxing days when he was a kickboxing champion. I mean, he got it in the Bruno Oliveira fight to win his contract with the Contender Series, knocked him out with a really nice check left hook. I think we're going to get it in this fight. I just don't like Nchukwi coming off of this knockout only 3 months ago in this fight. Yeah, he was winning. He was outstriking Murzakanov. But I don't like that. I don't like his ability to take a big shot from Carlos Ulberg, because Ulberg is going to test him. Ulberg's going to throw a big kick. He's going to throw something with, you know, powerful intent. And I think eventually he's going to put away Nchukwi, and I think it's going to be early in this fight. I mean, I think both these guys are going to come in this one trying to throw and throw hard, and I think Ulberg's going to get the best of it here. I think I haven't predicted a finish just yet on this card, just because a lot of these guys early in this card just some of these guys don't usually get finishes. I think we're definitely going to see a finish out of this one. I know I said that when Ulberg fought Sharon in his last fight at UFC 271, but I truly think this is going to be Carlos Ulberg's coming out party. I think he's going to pick up a huge knockout victory. I don't think they're doing Nchukwi any favors by booking him 3 months after him getting knocked out, especially in that brutal fashion that Nurmagomedov did deliver it in. And that's why I'm going to be going with Carlos Ulberg to pick up a second win in the UFC and his first stoppage win in the UFC, knocking out Nchukwi in the first round here on the featured prelim. Here we go, man. Tremendous fight at middleweight. We've got Chris Curtis taking on Rodolfo Vieira. The black belt hunter is taking on the action man Chris Curtis, and Chris Curtis has been on a roll so far in the UFC. He's established himself quickly as a top 15 middleweight. This guy is fun to watch. He comes in the UFC after winning an XMMA 2 over Kenny Robertson. He comes in short notice, knocks out Phil Hawes in the first round. Now, Phil Hawes wasn't beefing with Daniel Cormier at the time, and Phil Hawes again just beat Duran Win. I'm recording this on Saturday night, so just earlier today, he brutally finished Duran Win, which, oh, by the way, he predicted second round knockout right on the dot for that fight. I'm just saying. But anyways, Chris Curtis goes in there. He knocks out Phil Hawes in the first round. It's a fight that Hawes is winning to that point. I mean, he's out striking Curtis basically 2-1. You know, Hawes tries to take him down 3 times. Curtis keeps it standing, but eventually Curtis cracks the chin, and knocks him out in that first round. And then you book him real quick a month later against Brendan Allen. And I was hyped about Chris Curtis at the time, but I'm thinking, okay, I think Allen's really good. I don't think he's going to be able to get through all in Allen. Well, he knocks him out in the second round. Brendan Allen couldn't drag him to the ground. He goes 0 for 3 on his takedowns in that fight, and Chris Curtis is able to stop Brendan Allen in the second round. The man's striking is so good. He's got such powerful hands for a 185 pounder. And I'm so glad he's finally in the UFC, and he's 34 years old, but truly, if Chris Curtis wins this fight, he should be looking at a top 10 name because he should be in the top 10 right now. I don't even think he's ranked at middleweight. I'm going to check the rankings right now, but I don't think Chris Curtis even has a ranking right now at 185. He should. I mean, the guy is really good. You're telling me he couldn't beat number 15, Edmund Shabazian. I mean, number 14 is Chris Weidman. He hasn't fought in a while. Uriah Hall is number 9. Like, the guy's good. He should be in that, you know, like, I think Chris Curtis could beat Darren Till right now. I think he should be number 8. I'm just saying. But Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira. And the thing is, this fight's so interesting because Rodolfo Vieira is a guy which, like, you throw every normal MMA style out against Rodolfo Vieira because, like, sure, Chris Curtis has got great hands and all that, but it only takes one takedown and it only takes one slip, and then Rodolfo Vieira takes advantage, he takes your back, and he submits you and he wins the fight. Because that's how good this guy is. Again, the guy is named the Black Belt Hunter for a reason. And I know he got subbed by Alexander Fluffy Hernandez. That was a interesting loss where he ran out of gas. And, you know, we can talk about the fight all we want, but he just ran out of gas, and Fluffy Hernandez eventually submitted him in the second round, which is something I never thought was going to happen. But Rodolfo Vieira, his striking's terrible. It's just not what he does. He's a grappler. He's trying to get fights in the ground. And the Dustin Stufsis fight, eventually he subs him in the third round. It's a fight that Rodolfo Vieira was having trouble in. I mean, I don't know what the cards were going into that third round. I think he was probably down because he was taking down Stufsis some. He took him down in the second. In the first round, he's getting outstruck by Stufsis. In the second round, you know, he does take him down once, but Stufsis, you know, isn't on his back for too long. So you go to the third round, Vieira is able to land a takedown. He grabs his back and he submits him with a rear naked choke, and he wins the fight. And Dustin Stufsis, a guy, it's not that great. I mean, the guy's been having some troubles in the UFC. He went 0-3 in his UFC run. He's going to get a fourth fight. He's going to be taking on Dwight Grant coming up, I believe in Long Island, if I'm not mistaken, on the Ortega and Rodriguez card later in the summer. But going from Stufsis to Chris Curtis is tough. It truly is. It's a tough stylistic matchup for anyone, is Rodolfo Vieira. But as long as you're able to fight off the takedowns, Chris Curtis should be able to win. Okay, if the guy's able to fend off takedowns from 2 really good wrestlers in Phil Hawes and Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen's, you know, more of just, you know, jiu-jitsu guy's really good grappler, but he's able to get takedowns in most of the fights. And Phil Hawes is a powerful wrestler who's adapted to use his hands a lot in his fights and uses striking, but still 2 guys who are good at getting takedowns, and Hawes and Allen. From that to Rodolfo Vieira, who Rodolfo Vieira is a tremendous jiu-jitsu player. He's the best jiu-jitsu player probably in all the UFC. Like, there's not many pound for pound fighters who can beat Rodolfo Vieira in a pure grappling match. But can Rodolfo Vieira take Chris Curtis down? I don't think he's going to be able to. Curtis's defensive wrestling is really good. His takedown defense is really good. So I don't think Vieira is going to be able to take him down. If he can't take him down, Chris Curtis is going to outbox him. But again, this is what's always troubling picking Rodolfo Vieira fights, that one slip up can lose you the fight. If Curtis throws, it's the apex, the octagon's slippery over there. If he slips, falls on his back, Rodolfo Vieira jumps on him, he's got top positioning and sinks in an arm triangle, wins the fight, that can 100% happen. And Chris Curtis could be winning for 13 minutes to that point. But the thing is, I don't think Adolfo Vieira is going to be able to last too long in the feet against a guy like Chris Curtis. He's going to have to get him on his back immediately. He's going to have to get him on the ground immediately. He's going to have to, clinch up and tie up with Curtis right away because Curtis possesses a lot of power in his hands, and Adolfo Vieira is the worst striker he's seen in the UFC, probably one of the worst strikers he's seen in a while, okay? Because Vieira just doesn't really strike all the well. He'll throw big shots to try to knock his opponents out, but he'll do that to try to get into range and, tie up his opponents. I think Curtis is too good for that. I think Chris Curtis is going to come in there. I think it's going to be an easy night in the office for him as long as he can keep the fight standing, which I anticipate him doing. I like the action man, Chris Curtis, to go to 3-0 in the UFC, knocking out Adolfo Vieira in the first round, get this man a number next to his name, and hell, throw him in a big ranked fight. Hell, does Chris Weidman want to come back? Give him Chris Weidman. Actually, I don't know if I want to do that. Give him Uriah Hall after Hall fights his next fight, which I think is Andre Muniz. Give Chris Curtis Uriah Hall. I'd love to see that fight. Going with Curtis to pick up the W by first round KO. It is rare, and I mean it is very rare, to see a guy who's undefeated in the UFC, 3-0, coming into his fourth fight in the promotion against a guy who's got less fights than him and be a plus 480 underdog. And that's Nate Maness when he's taking on Umar Nurmagomedov here, because Nurmagomedov's coming in at minus 645. On the other side, you got Maness at plus 480, and I'll tell you why. Because Umar Nurmagomedov has been that guy so far in the UFC. He's 2-0. He comes in, they give him Sergey Morozov. And we talked about Morozov earlier. A really good fighter, really good wrestler. Nurmagomedov doesn't have any problems with him. He goes 5 for 11 on his takedowns. He's able to drag Morozov down. He's able to take his back. He's able to submit him, and he's able to win the fight. So his second fight in the UFC. Brian Kelleher, UFC 272, Covington Masvidal. He's able to sub Kelleher in 3 minutes. Doesn't take much. He takes him down. He subs him. Fight over. And Nurmagomedov's striking isn't horrible either. He's got a pretty solid striking game too, but he's able to submit Kelleher. He's able to win the fight. He's 2-0 in the UFC. Now, Maness' run in the UFC has been interesting. He's got the Johnny Munoz fight in his first fight in the UFC. He wins the fight by unanimous decision. And then he runs into Luke Sanders after that. He doesn't knock him out, excuse me. Picks up the rear naked choke victory in the second, and then of course he knocks out Ginny Gravely in his last fight on the Smith and Span card. And he's got back-to-back performance bonuses, does Nate Maness, which is cool and all. But is he gonna be able to fight off the takedowns of Umar Nurmagomedov? That's my question to you. I don't think so. Because yeah, you can look at all these different attributes that Nate Maness has got. He's got good striking, he's got powerful hands, he's solid, he's got a solid jiu-jitsu game, he's got all of that. But is he able to keep up with a guy who, again, is at minus 575, more than minus 575, minus 645 right now on the books? Like, I don't think Maness is going to be able to win this fight. I just don't see a pathway to victory for him. Because on the feet, sure, is he going to be able to hang with Umar? Sure, but it's not like Maness has got the best striking. Yeah, he knocked down Luke Sanders, and he was able to outstrike Tony Gravely, but you go from that to a guy in Umar Nurmagomedov who's got a tremendous chin, who's got tremendous jiu-jitsu, and who's got a really good wrestling game. Just all around, Umar Nurmagomedov is a very talented fighter. He was supposed to fight Jack Shore earlier this year. That fight never materialized, but he's only 26 years old. He's undefeated. He's fought in the PFL before. He was a minus 1,600 favorite in the fight he had in the PFL, but still, he's undefeated. He's 14-0. He ran through Morozov, ran through Kelleher. I think he's going to run through Maness as well. I think Nate Maness is a good guy. He's a really good fighter. But he's lost some fights in the past. I think Umar is going to be able to come in there. I think he's going to be able to take down Maness in the first round. I think he's going to be able to submit him. So I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov to remain undefeated in the UFC, submitting Nate Maness in the first. Again, Maness isn't horrible. He's got a solid striking game. But even on the feet, it's just a question of how long is Maness, by the way, going to be able to keep this fight on the feet? I don't think he's going to be able to keep it for that long, right? So I'm going to go with Umar Nurmagomedov to win this fight. I think he's going to get it done by first round sub over Maness. Now we've got Thiago Moises taking on Christos Giagos. And for Thiago Moises, he's coming off back-to-back losses. They are to Islam Makhachev, though, and Joel Alvarez. Two guys who are very good. And, of course, Makhachev probably fighting for the belt next. And for Joel Alvarez, is a guy who lost to Arman Tsarukyan in his last one, but he's still a very good fighter, and he should be around the top 15 for a very long time to come. But in the Joel Alvarez fight, it was just Alvarez better striker between him and Moises, and just wasn't on the right side of a fight in that one. But his 3 fights before fighting Makhachev and Alvarez back-to-back, he beat Michael Johnson by ankle lock in the second round. He beat the Maness, and then he beat Bobby Green in a fight where I will continue to say Bobby Green won that fight because he did. Moises beat Green by unanimous decision in that one, and then beat Alexander Hernandez after that one by unanimous decision. But Moises, again, really good jiu-jitsu out the guy. His wrestling could be better, but his jiu-jitsu off his back is really good. And you look at his opponent here in Christos Giagos, a guy who is always trying to wrestle his opponents. I mean, look at his last couple of wins. Carlton Maness, when he's able to out-wrestle Maness, he's able to out-wrestle Sean Soriano and sub Soriano in Houston in UFC 262. And that's just how Giagos fights. Damir Hazovic fight, he is a very aggressive wrestler who's going to try to drag fights to the mat, which is a concerning fight style in this one for him when you're taking on a guy like Thiago Moises, who is so good off his back and who does have such a good BJJ game, it just makes it hard for Giagos to win this one, because on the feet, Moises' striking isn't the greatest, but it's still better than Christos Giagos, I think. Moises, isn't going to probably knock anybody out. I think he did land a knockout win when he won the Contender Series Brazil back in 2018, but he's likely not going to knock anybody on the feet, but he's at least going to put some damage on. He's going to, make you think in there. He's going to put the volume on Giagos, where I think there will be a point in this fight where Giagos is going to shoot a takedown, obviously, but I think there's going to be a point where he's going to panic shoot, and he's going to shoot in for a bad shot against Moises. He's going to shoot right into either a guillotine, or he's going to fall right in the guard of Thiago Moises, and I think he's going to make a mistake. So I do like Moises. I think, there's a reason he's a 2-1 favorite in this one, minus 240 for Moises, plus 200 for Giagos coming back. Moises is the sizable favorite for a reason in this one, because if this fight stays standing, I like Moises to a decision. If Giagos is trying to take him down, which I anticipate him doing so, I think Moises is going to catch him in a submission. So I'm going to take Thiago Moises to win this fight. I think he's going to sub Christos Giagos. I think, again, Moises will pressure Giagos in the feet and force Giagos to shoot to the point where, again, he's going to make a mistake, does Christos, and Thiago Moises is going to submit him off his back. So I'm going to take Thiago Moises. I think he's going to pick up a submission win in this one. I like him to get the sub in the second. I think he wins the first round. In the second round, Giagos shoots in for a takedown. He's successful in doing so, but again, Moises is able to submit him. So I'm going to take Thiago Moises to win this fight against Christos Giagos, get back on his winning ways by submitting him and winning in the second round. Something with the UFC and booking unranked heavyweights in featured bouts here on the main card. It's Josh Parisian and it's Arman Baudot, two guys who have a combined one win in the UFC. And Josh Parisian's one win's Roque Martinez, and Roque Martinez has not been seen since his third straight loss in the UFC, where he did lose to Josh Parisian. So, dude, what are we going to get out of this fight? Because, okay, Arman Baudot, he didn't look horrible in his last fight. I thought Parker Porter was going to beat him by decision. I think a lot of people thought Parker Porter was going to win that fight by decision, but Arman Baudot actually won a round in that fight, and he didn't look horrible in that one. He was outstriking Parker Porter. You look at you watch that fight back, Arman Baudot outstrikes him in the first and third rounds. It's just the takedown out of Parker Porter in the first, and it's the takedown in the third that does win Porter both those rounds. It's just, man, Baudot's striking isn't as bad as I thought it was, because he loses the Nascimento fight. That fight's now been overturned. It was on the Makhachev Moises card in July 2021. And again, Nascimento finished him in the second round, but it's now been overturned. Baudot was winning that fight, I guess, to that point. He was, I feel like every fight Baudot's in, I just think he's not very good because of the way he started his UFC career. Because the Tom Aspinall fight, okay, he's dominated in that fight. We knew Aspinall was going to dominate him. But it's the way Baudot got in the UFC. Hell, he's coming into the UFC off of a disqualification victory, on TKO, which is a Canadian promotion, I do believe, right? Because Charles Jourdain was the main event on that card. Yeah, it was a Canadian promotion over there in Quebec. He wins the fight by DQ, okay, and he gets in the UFC off of that. And before that, he wins a fight where he knocks out his opponent in Japan, who was a guy who's 0-2 at the time. The guy's now 0-5, the Samurai. I don't know, but Baudot really hadn't fought anybody. The one guy he fought before heading to the UFC that's in the UFC is Dalcha Lujanbula, and Lujanbula knocked him out in 26 seconds. That's why I was like, what are we getting out of Baudot in the UFC? And still to this day, I don't know what we're going to get out of him, because his striking isn't horrible. He doesn't have the knockout power to knock anybody out, but his striking, it does do damage. He did rock Porter a couple times when they did fight, so he's got some striking, but he doesn't got the knockout power to put anyone away, like Parker Porter and like Josh Parisian, because Josh Parisian probably isn't knocking anybody out either. When he beat Chad Johnson in the Contender Series, no, not Chad Ochocinco, but the fighter Chad Johnson, it was a TKO on the ground. He knocked him down, then he finished him on the ground with ground and pound. And then, his first run on the Contender Series, I think he won by knockout, but then he got on the Ultimate Fighter and lost to Michel Bautista, I think. Yeah, I don't honestly, God, I don't remember who this guy is because I didn't watch the Ultimate Fighter season. All I know is that Espino won. I don't know what we're gonna get out of this fight. It's a low-level heavyweight fight. It's probably gonna go to decision. If anyone's gonna get a knockout, it's gonna be Arman Baudot, because I don't think Parisian really holds the power to knock anybody out or not to pick up many knockouts in the UFC. Okay, I'm going to pick the Black Samurai. I'm going to take Arman Baudot. I think Baudot's going to be able to strike early on him. And I'm going to take a shot in the dark, for our entertainment sake and for, us viewing at home. I hope these two guys just go out there and throw big shots. I hope it's a sloppy fight, but I hope they just honestly just go out there and just go crazy. And it's just a crazy fight for 2 minutes. Because both these guys, does Parisian have knockout power? No, he doesn't. But over an accumulation of strikes, Parisian could finish somebody. And Baudot, again, doesn't probably have that one punch knockout power, but of course he could probably over an accumulation of strikes put away his opponent. So I'll take Arman Baudot, and I'll take him by first round knockout. Am I confident at all? Hell no. Not in the slightest am I confident in this fight. Going either way. I'll take Baudot ever so slightly. Josh Parisian, he got humped in his last fight, okay? Yeah, Dante O'May's got him on the ground. He got him in north-south position, and he started just started humping his head. It was weird. I know he was trying to go for those, was it a hip strike? I don't know what he was trying to do. But if that happens to you in a fight, bro, I can't pick you to win. I'm sorry. He eventually got finished by Dontel Mays in the third round of that fight. He got knocked out, TKO, that finish. I'm taking Baudot. I don't know. Like, again, low-level heavyweight fighting. Parisian isn't horrible, but actually, man, he's a UFC fighter. He's not bad. But Baudot, I think, is going to get to him. Again, it's low-level heavyweight fighting, can go either way. Don't put your hard-earned money in this fight on this fight. Both these guys, they're coming in even, -110 on both sides. I'll take Baudot, the Black Samurai, ever so slightly. Give me Baudot by first-round knockout. I have zero confidence at all, though. What a co-main event. We've got Magny, who's willing to fight everybody, anywhere, anytime, against Shavkat Rakhmonov. And now, Shavkat Rakhmonov, if he fought more often, and if he had that monumental start to his career like Khamzat Chimaev had, Shavkat Rakhmonov would have that hype. He is a top 15 fighter who does not get the recognition just yet, maybe because he doesn't put himself out there like, Khamzat Chimaev does, because he doesn't, market himself. He doesn't say he's going to smash everybody. Just because of that, he's not as well known as he should be. But this guy's a problem. This guy is a problem in the weight class. He's 3-0 in the UFC. He was the former M1 welterweight champion. The guy hasn't lost a fight yet. He can wrestle, he's got jiu-jitsu, he can strike, he's got power. This guy's pretty tough to beat, and when you look at the top welterweights, I don't think a lot of guys could beat this guy. Like sure, maybe the top 5, okay? In the top 5, we're saying Usman, Colby, Chimaev, Bilal, Leon, Burns. Okay, those guys I think could beat Rakhmonov, at least the Rakhmonov I saw in his last fight. But every other welterweight's gonna have problems with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Just because of the way he's able to mix things up. I mean, he's able to strike when he needs to. He's able to grapple when he needs to. He's such a well-balanced fighter. And when you saw his first 2 fights in the UFC, I thought he was going to win them both by knockout. But no, he subs both of his opponents. He subs Alex Cowboy Oliveira in his first fight, and then he subs Michel Pereira in his, or sorry, not Michel Pereira. He subs Pereira in his second fight by a naked choke. And then his next fight in the UFC, he knocks out Carlston Harris in the first round with a spinning hook kick. The guy's got so many weapons. And I haven't even talked about Magny yet, but that's just what Shavkat Rakhmonov brings to the table. The guy is really good, and I've seen discussions about it on the internet. I think Chael Sonnen's really the only guy in the mainstream MMA, in the mainstream, spectrum of things with the MMA landscape, who's giving him the respect and giving him, hey, if this guy fought Khamzat Chimaev, he'd have a good chance of winning the fight. And now maybe the odds wouldn't be close. Maybe you get him at like plus 300, but a lot of people would be would be willing to lay down a ticket on Shavkat Rakhmonov plus 300 if he was in that fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Now, he's taking on Magny. The Haitian sensation, Magny, is a good fighter. He's a really talented fighter who's fought some of the best in the UFC. You look at his last couple of fights, his last 4 fights, Robbie Lawler, he wins. He loses to Michael Chiesa in the main event. He beats Jeff Neal. He beats Max Payne Griffin by split decision over in Columbus, Ohio, just three months ago. Now, in the Max Payne Griffin fight, he gets dropped in that one. And it's a close fight, which honestly, I thought Max Payne Griffin probably won. I rewatched that fight. Yes, Magny does take him down in the third round, which does secure him that third. But the first and second, I'll be honest with you, I thought Max Payne Griffin won those first 2. And I watched it live. I gave the second for Magny. But when I rewatch it now, I think Griffin wins the fight. Max Griffin's able to knock him down in the first round. Griffin was really able to showcase his hands in that one and put down Magny. Now, Magny gets the decision. I'm not going to complain about it. It's not a bad decision at all. But I'm just saying, if you're having close fights with Max Payne Griffin, who's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is going to just roll right through Magny. Magny's good. Magny's been calling out Khamzat Chimaev for the longest time. Well, he's getting Khamzat Chimaev light in this fight, and I hate saying that against Shavkat Rakhmonov. But let's be honest, he kind of is right now. But again, I would want to see him fight Khamzat. They're never going to do it unless these two have to fight for a belt someday, which honestly could be the case in 3 years. That could be a title fight. Khamzat Chimaev versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, I could see it 100%. And striking-wise, I'd give the edge to Shavkat Rakhmonov. I would. And I think Shavkat Rakhmonov would have a really good chance against Khamzat Chimaev. On the feet, he's good. Okay, if we're comparing him with Magny, on the feet, he's got more power than Magny. Maybe Magny, if he's going to be able to find a success or a pathway to success on the feet, it's got to be him out volume Rakhmonov. But Rakhmonov, if he needs to strike with volume, he can. He can just throw his, he can throw his jab out there, put it out there, and then reach over with a big overhand shot after. And then, he's got the power on the feet too. And then on the ground, man, Magny's got good wrestling, but does he want to be down there with Rakhmonov? I don't think so. Chiesa was able to out-grapple Magny. I think this is Shavkat Rakhmonov for days here in this fight, guys. I don't even think we're going to get to grappling. I think Rakhmonov's going to knock out Magny in the first round. We need what Rakhmonov needs to get viewed as a serious contender, at least in the casual scheme of things, is a big knockout victory, a big finish victory over a top-level guy, a guy that a lot of people know. Magny is that guy, and Shavkat Rakhmonov on Saturday night is going to finally pick up that big performance and that big victory. It's a shame it's not in front of a crowd, because if this was in front of a crowd, a lot more people would know his name, because again, more people, I'm assuming, and I know for a fact, more people watch the fight nights with crowds than the ones in the Apex. I wish there was more eyes watching Shavkat Rakhmonov, because what this guy's able to do is really incredible. He's going to run through Magny, he's going to catch him with something flashy, it's going to be on the SportsCenter top 10 at the end of the night, and Shavkat Rakhmonov's going to win in the co-main event. He's going to knock out Magny in the first round. If he's not able to do that, if Magny is piecing him up on the feet, Rakhmonov takedown submission just like that as well. He's got so many different pathways to victory in this one. Magny's got one. It's keeping his range, out volume Rakhmonov, and fighting up the takedowns. I don't think he's able to. I mean, he's got a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. I think Rakhmonov's truly a problem for Magny. He's going to come in there, he's going to knock him out in the first round, which is a tough thing to do because Magny is a durable guy in there. I mean, Magny's been there with some of the top guys in the promotion, and he's only been knocked out twice. You're looking at the Ponzinibbio fight in the main event in Buenos Aires, Argentina back in 2018, and then you're looking when he got knocked out. Oh goodness, what was the other knockout? When he lose by knockout? Oh, when Lorenz Larkin got him in Vegas. I think it was the Connor card, right? UFC 202, when Lorenz Larkin knocked him out. Magny's a tough guy to put away, but Rakhmonov's going to do it. He's going to knock him out in the first round. Something flashy. Shavkat Rakhmonov's 4-0 in the UFC. Get this guy in the rankings and get him some damn ranked opponents. Here we go, main event time. Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot. Love this fight. I truly, we will find a top 5 lightweight in this fight right now. Tsarukyan, Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot, let's be honest, should be 4-0 in the UFC. I mean, I thought he beat Guram Kutateladze in his last fight, or his last loss in his first fight in the UFC, and Kutateladze maybe should have beat Damir Ismagulov, whatever. But anyways, we're here for Tsarukyan and Gamrot now. And for Arman Tsarukyan, I mean, this is a guy who's been 5-0 since he ran into Islam Makhachev in his first fight. It's a competitive fight with Makhachev. He loses, but then he turns around. He beats OAM, PFL playoff contender now in OAM in his first fight back after losing to Makhachev. He out-wrestles him. He beats Davey Ramos, where he shows off the striking over in at Fight Island. He shows off the striking along with the wrestling in that one, and then he beats Matt Frivola after that, taking Frivola down 10 times at UFC 257, dominating the fight on the ground. Then after that, he beat Christos Giagos, knocking him out in the first round, showing the striking off, and then the Joel Alvarez fight. I mean, he beat that man to a pulp. I mean, it got bloody. Tsarukyan's throwing elbows in the ground. He's just busting open Alvarez. It's a tremendous win for Arman Tsarukyan. Again, he is now 5-1 in the UFC. Now he's taken on Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot's the guy who comes in the UFC, again, runs into Kutateladze. I thought he won the fight, but he loses it by split decision. When you look at the scorecards in that one, again, Kutateladze is able to knock him down in the second round, and maybe you give him the second round, but rounds 1 and 3 go to Mateusz Gamrot, I think, every single way. I don't know how, again, you score that fight for Kutateladze, but anyways, Gamrot bounces back. He beats Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman in his second fight in the UFC, knocking him out in the second round. He subs Jeremy Stephens, the PFL's own Jeremy Stephens, in his third fight in the UFC, subbing him right away with a Kimura, and then he runs into Carlos Diego Ferreira in his fourth fight in the UFC, excuse me. He's able to take down Diego Ferreira a lot, bring him down to the ground. He was just able to clinch a lot with Ferreira, and then eventually he got him, in that back position where he's got his back. He throws knees, and then Ferreira he tells Herzog, like, yeah, I'm done, and then he wins the fight, just kind of, turtles up, and Mateusz Gamrot wins the fight. It's a weird stoppage, but Gamrot picks up the victory. He was getting outstruck by CDF to that point in that fight, which is a little bit concerning because Tsarukyan is a guy whose striking has evolved since he did make his way into the UFC. You look at the way he blitzes Giagos. He throws that big combination to put him down. He just blitzes him at the beginning of the fight. It's only 2 minutes and then it's 22 significant strikes. Like Tsarukyan went for it against Giagos and he put him down early in that one. I think power-wise, I think Tsarukyan's got the advantage. But Mateusz Gamrot, I mean, wrestling, this fight's dead even, I think. I mean, we talk highly about the grappling, the wrestling game that Tsarukyan does got, but Mateusz Gamrot can wrestle too. I mean, he can grapple as well. I mean, again, you saw with ease how he put away Jeremy Stephens in his third fight in the UFC, how he's able just to control guys, like even the Kutateladze fight, he's able to keep Guram down. He's able to wrestle Guram. He's able to wrestle Diego Ferreira. The guy's good on the ground. Is he going to be able to keep down Arman Tsarukyan though? Wouldn't bank on it. I really wouldn't bank on it. I think Tsarukyan's really good on the ground now. We haven't seen him on his back much in the UFC. The only time we did see him on his back was in that fight against Islam Makhachev. And Makhachev, sure, he had his moments in that fight, and he did keep down Tsarukyan in points in that fight, but Arman Tsarukyan is able to fight off some of the takedowns of Makhachev. He's able to keep the fight on the feet when he wanted to. He's able to, you know, reverse positioning in that one. He was able to take down Makhachev in the first round, just like Makhachev took him down. I mean, Tsarukyan's competitive in that first and second round of that fight. And the third's when Makhachev does start to really take over, but the guy's competitive against a really good fighter in Islam Makhachev. Again, I've said this before, I think it's this fight we are going to see someday for a world championship, because hell, Arman Tsarukyan, again, is 25 years old. The Armenian fighter is only 25 years old. He's going into his 21st professional fight, and it's in the main event against the former KSW champion, Mateusz Gamrot. Mateusz Gamrot had his run through the KSW ranks. He went undefeated over there. He defended his championship multiple times at lightweight. He won the featherweight championship as well over in Poland, and now he's here in the UFC. He's 3-1. It's a fun fight, man. But I think Arman Tsarukyan's going to be able to get the victory. I think he's going to. I'm high on both these guys. I've been, have my eye on Gamrot for a while since he made his UFC debut, and for Tsarukyan, again, since the Makhachev fight, I've really kept an eye on him. But man, I think wrestling-wise, I think Tsarukyan's going to be able to get Gamrot. I mean, the only man to take down Tsarukyan so far in the UFC is Islam Makhachev. And now, given no one's been able to take down Mateusz Gamrot, but I mean, I like Guram, and Diego Ferreira is good, and Jeremy Stevens is solid, but none of those guys are on the level that Arman Tsarukyan is on, especially in the wrestling, and even the power that Tsarukyan is throwing with now, too. Like, Tsarukyan, his striking isn't what you would like it to be ideally to make a title run right now, but for a guy fighting, through the ranks in the top 15, he's got power in this weight class that can take him places. And will he knock out Mateusz Gamrot? There's a chance maybe if he catches him with a big shot. I don't think so. But I think, if Guram Kutateladze is able to stun Mateusz Gamrot, I think Arman Tsarukyan is going to be able to stun him too. But I think we're going to see a competitive fight for 25 minutes. I think this will go the distance. But I like Arman Tsarukyan. I think he's going to win 4 rounds, and I think he's going to win the fight. I think he's going to pick up the victory. I think it's going to be a combination of wrestling. It's going to be a combination of that and the big power shots that he will throw in the striking game that keeps on evolving for Tsarukyan. That's what's going to win him the fight here in the UFC Apex. I'm going to go with Arman Tsarukyan to pick up the victory in his first ever main event. Again, the guy's only 25 years old. He's 18-2. I think he's going to pick up the win. He's going to beat Mateusz Gamrot in an impressive 5-round decision victory, and it's a fight where, again, I think Mateusz Gamrot will have moments. I think he will. I think, Arman Tsarukyan's only been taken down by Islam Makhachev in the UFC. I think Mateusz Gamrot has a very good chance to add his name to that list. But when it comes to the overall fight, and when you think about this fight in a 25-minute span, I still think that Arman Tsarukyan is going to be able to pick up the victory. So that's why I'm going to go with Tsarukyan to win this one by decision. I'll say 4 rounds to 1. I could see it 3-2. Let's hope we just don't get any controversial decisions or judging in this fight like we did in last night's main event with Emmett and Calvin Kattar. And we look at the rest of this division, man. You're looking at Gamrot sitting at 12, Tsarukyan at 11. I mean, I don't know who you book Tsarukyan with next. I'll throw one out, maybe the loser of Fiziev Dos Anjos, or hell, if we're looking for an opponent still for Beneil Dariush, give me Beneil Dariush and Arman Tsarukyan. I think that'd be a banger of a fight. So folks, thank y'all for watching another UFC preview and predictions here on the channel. The main event being Arman Tsarukyan and Mateusz Gamrot from Las Vegas, Nevada. If you have not yet though, make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure you leave a like if you did enjoy the video, and also make sure to join us for both our PFL and Bellator predictions coming out tomorrow. Of course, Bellator the main event, Johnny Eblen taking on Gegard Mousasi for the middleweight championship. In the PFL, we've got the heavyweights and we have got the welterweights going to the main event. I believe we got Scheffel taking on Bruno Capeloza. So be on the lookout for both those videos for MMA coming out tomorrow with Bellator and PFL. Again, hit the subscribe button down below for more. Follow us on IG over there at GreaterPlaysYT. And thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.